This September, Daniel Maldini debuted for AC Milan in Serie A. He scored against Spezia and once again fooled up the story of the successful Maldini dynasty. The 20-year-old player has drawn a lot of attention recently, as he is the successor of Paolo, one of the best defenders in history, and Cesare, the legend of Italian football. Daniel is not a first-11 player yet, but he's under a lot of pressure because of his last name. If the forward can rise to the challenge of his popularity, he has a chance of becoming a top player. But that happens rarely. Goal24 is going to tell you about the players who were unable to withstand the fame and pressure. But before we start, answer a question. Mauricio Valdivieso is the youngest player to make a debut in football. How old was the Bolivian on the day of his debut? 10, 11, 12 or 13 years old? Bojan Krkić. The Barcelona youngster was very talented and was supposed to become a real star. At the age of 17, he had already played 31 matches in La Liga and scored 10 goals. In Catalonia, everybody believed Bojan was the new Messi, though the Spaniard was only a few years younger than the Argentinian. But the constant comparisons with Leo and the huge attention ruined Bojan's career. He declined in his second season. The Blaugrana gave Krkić some time to progress, but it didn't happen. Eventually, he moved to Roma in 2011 and then traveled all over the world. Krkić played in Italy, England, Germany, the Netherlands and Canada. Since August, he's been performing for the Japanese Vissel Kobe alongside Andres Iniesta. What could have gone wrong with the model graduate of La Masia? Great vision, accurate passing, possession, dribbling. He had all the technical skills needed, but not the mentality. Krkić was pressured by the authority of his famous partners. What's more, he was unlucky to be part of Guardiola's Barca. The team was showing insane football and the result was more important than the development of an individual player. Also, Krkić was influenced by the criticism concerning national teams. The player's father is Serbian, his mother is Spanish. As Bojan had doubts about choosing the national team, he was pressured from both sides. Eventually, he chose the Spanish team where he wasn't really welcome. The forward made a very quick way from a talented youngster to a complete disappointment. Bojan is 31 now, and his career is coming to an end, slowly but surely. Allan Halilovic. Halilovic is a great example of how a top club transfer can spin the brain of a youngster. Allan is one of the numerous players raised by Dinamo Zagreb, but unlike Modric, Mandzukic, Kovacic, Guardiola, Lovren and many others, Allan hasn't been able to fully realize his potential yet, all because of early fame. Halilovic is the youngest player in history of Dinamo. He debuted when he was 16 years and 102 days old. His vivid game quickly drew Barcelona's attention, and they initiated transfer negotiations. Everybody in Croatia was talking about the new Modric. The player's relatives and the press were regularly saying that soon the Croatian starlet would be playing with Messi himself. Dinamo was literally begging to leave the guy alone so he could concentrate on football. But in vain. When Allan moved to the Catalan club, he was more impressed by his teammates and the life in Barcelona rather than the training process. As a result, Allan was unable to establish himself at Blaugrana and went on loan to Gijón, and later he was sold to Hamburg. But the Croatian was unable to stay long in Germany. In recent years, Allan has managed to play in Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium and England. This year he moved to Reading from Birmingham as a free agent, and the player is only 25. Instead of rocking in the Champions League, Allan gets dusty in the Championship. Adnan Januzai. The Belgian moved to Man United at the age of 16. He showed a lot of promise as he was playing very mature football. Adnan joined the first team when he was 18. In his first season, Januzaj played 35 matches and made the fans fall in love with him. He showed a great game for his age, had a great vision of the pitch and passed incredibly accurately. But this was his limit. He started thinking he was a star too soon, and the English press often reported disciplinary issues. Under Louis van Gaal, Adnan was unable to play in the first team and was sent on loan to Dortmund at first and then to Sunderland. The Red Devils thought that playing for smaller clubs would motivate the player, but he didn't manage to show a decent game even there. But his star fever never vanished. Eventually, Man United sold Januzai to Real Sociedad in 2017 for a humble €8.5 million. The winger was supposed to have a great future, but he ruined it with his own hands. Even at Sociedad, he's not a star player, as they have Isaac, Oyarzabal and David Silva in the squad. Royston Drenthe. In the Netherlands, Royston is called a comet. He flashed brightly, but burned out quickly. But it wasn't only his fault. Drenthe was thought to be a top player and even compared with legendary Edgar Davids. The versatile midfielder showed a great game at the Euro Under-21 in 2007. Royston drew interest from many top clubs, but Real Madrid won the battle for the Dutchman. Feyenoord didn't want to leave the player, but the €14 million did their job. Drenthe didn't need much time to adapt at Madrid, but he wasn't able to become a first-team player. The Dutchman was useful as he could play both left defender and left midfielder, and soon Royston considered himself a star as he said he was playing for the best club in the world. To be honest, Real Madrid is not an easy club for young players. Eventually, Drenthe declined and was soon ousted by Marcelo, who's playing for Madrid till today, by the way. And Royston has changed several clubs since 2010. He was on loan at Everton and Hercules. He even signed for Russian Alanya. But he couldn't establish even in Russia. He didn't train well, started lifting weight, doing music and spending huge money to show off. Drenthe is 34 now. From once a talented youngster, he became a mediocre player who's cashing money playing in Turkey, Emirates and England. This summer, Royston signed for Real Murcia, a club in the Spanish 5th division. Luka Jovic. The Real Madrid forward started his career in Serbia at Crvena Zvezda, but the Belgrade club thought Luka was overrated and happily sold him to BALLON. In Cyprus, he did well and soon he found himself at Benfica and then at Eintracht. In the Bundesliga, Jovic scored a lot, but Niko Kovac deliberately didn't play Luka in the first 11, because of which the player's father even had a conflict with him. Jovic Sr. didn't like that Kovac explained his decision that Luka might get starstruck had he appeared in the first 11. Partially, Niko was right, but Luka eventually made it into the starting 11 and scored 27 goals in 48 matches in the 18-19 season. After this, Real Madrid bought the forward for €63 million. Immediately after his transfer to Madrid, Luka was sent to the reserves. Zidane's first-choice players were Benzema and Vinicius. Jovic almost didn't play, and when on the pitch, he rarely did anything effective. He was unable to handle the pressure of being at a top club. His story somewhat reminds that of Drenthe. The only difference is that Jovic wants to get back to his former level, only at another club. The Serb is only 23, and he has all the chances of becoming a top European player, but until that, he's on our list. Alexandre Pato. Famous Duck, as fans nicknamed Alexandre, could have easily become as good as Ronaldo or Kaká, but Pato's chosen his own way. He started his career at Internazionale in Brazil. Before turning 18, he moved to AC Milan. The fact that in 2009 Alexandre won the Best Young Player title in Italy speaks of his talent. Later, he also won the Golden Boy title. Andriy Shevchenko himself said that Pato is more talented than he was, but the Brazilian's lifestyle influenced his career. Suddenly, Alexandre started suffering from muscle injuries. Physios were sure this was because of neglecting training sessions. The forward was saving himself recovering not in the medical center, but in nightclubs, alongside Ronaldinho. And while the magician still showed top game despite parties, Pato more rarely started games in the lineup. Partying influenced not only the player's game, but also his personal life. His wife left him because of such a lifestyle, but Alexandre started dating Berlusconi's daughter, guaranteeing himself a place at AC Milan. The Rossoneri tolerated Pato's excess for a long time, but in 2013 eventually sold him to Corinthians. Because of his reputation as a party boy, not a single European club wanted to see Pato in their squad. Only Chelsea risked loaning him, but didn't buy him out because of Pato's another failure. Later he moved to China, but soon returned to Brazil, and in February 2021 he moved to MLS to play for Orlando. Instead of a great career, Pato once again proved the stereotype that the Brazilian youngsters rate parties higher than football. Pato should have taken Vinicius as an example. Niang. The Senegalese forward played well for Caen, scoring a lot of goals, and that made top clubs turn their attention to him. Mbaye was a strong and fast player who also played well with his head thanks to his height. Out of all clubs, Niang chose AC Milan. In Italy, the player almost instantly started having troubles with discipline. Mbaye arrived at the moment when Ancelotti had left the club with several veteran players. Probably, the presence of Pirlo, Nesta and Gattuso would have made Mbaye concentrate on football, but it didn't work that way. The player was often late for training, didn't work hard and spent a lot of time at parties. Overall, he scored 12 goals in 79 matches for AC Milan. He was at the club till 2018, spending the most of the time on loans. Eventually, Mbaye returned to France, and now he plays for Bordeaux, which is closer to relegation rather than Euro Cups. Niang occasionally states that he regretted his behavior as he had been bemused by big money and the status of a star. But it's too late to repent. His reputation is damaged. The worst thing is that Niang is only 26. Anderson Luiz. The Brazilian started his career in Grêmio, but very soon he moved to Porto, where he became a real star. He won several trophies with the Dragons and then moved to Manchester United for 31 million euros. It was a huge amount for 2007. It seemed to be a perfect transfer. Ferguson liked Anderson as he played better year after year. Thanks to Sir Alex, Luiz perfected the position of both attacking and defensive midfielder. Also, he made friends with Ronaldo and Nani as they helped him to adapt. Everything went well until 2010, when Anderson decided he was already a star. He thought he was better than others, which brought conflicts in the dressing room. The most egregious thing he did was leaving for Brazil without Ferguson's permission. The manager even fined the player for £80,000, but it didn't help. He kept conflicting, attending parties and openly declaring his intentions to leave the club. No sooner said than done. Luiz was first sent on loan to Fiorentina and later his contract expired. The Brazilian returned home, where he played at different clubs, after which he moved to Turkey to finish his career in 2019. After retiring, Anderson found his own company and invested money in cryptocurrency. This year, Anderson was accused of theft and money laundering. Well, he should have trained harder. Stephan El Shaarawy. Pharaoh made quite a racket in Europe in his time, as he was considered one of the most promising players. Becoming a top player at Genoa, Stephan moved to AC Milan for 20 million euros. The first season was wasted for adaptation, but the next season Stephan scored 19 goals for the Rossoneri. It seemed like the boy had a bright future, but in the 2013-14 season, it became obvious that El Shaarawy was struggling under the pressure of being at a top club. Also, the injuries he got negatively influenced his career and his mentality. Stephan was given another chance and the club even extended his contract, but in vain. He never played on the top level again. If we look at the statistics, El Shaarawy was unable to restart his career neither in China nor in France. In Roma, the Italian more or less shows a decent game, but he's already 29 and he should hardly expect a new contract. Yet, we can't say that Stephan was a troublemaker or violated the discipline. He wanted to play football, but it is hard to fulfill the expectations at a top club. Stefan Jovetic. Today, the Italian press compares Jovetic with Vlahovic, as they fear that Dusan may repeat Stefan's mistake of moving to a top club too early. They both started at Partizan and both moved to Fiorentina to be noticed by top clubs. And if Vlahovic is yet to move to a top club, Jovetic possibly regrets choosing Man City. The citizens paid 26 million euros for Montenegrin, but Stefan never played in England the way he was expected to. The same happened at Inter and later at Sevilla. Only at Monaco did Stefan find his second youth, but he burned out very soon and moved to Hertha. The start was good enough, 3 goals in 8 matches. But the question is, how long will Jovetic last? He's 32 already, and his motivation is vanishing. The player did everything he could. He trained regularly, had a healthy lifestyle, and was on a good terms with his teammates and coaches. But the wrong choice of a club broke down his career. Bonus: Andy Carroll. Andy Carroll became a star player, although for a short time, thanks to some luck. When Newcastle was relegated to the Championship, Michael Owen, Mark Viduka and Obafemi Martins left the club. Thanks to that, Andy established himself in the first team, scoring a lot in the second tier of English football. Andy helped Newcastle get back to the Premier League, where he kept scoring goals. He was dreaming of a long career at the Magpies, but the management decided otherwise. The Newcastle bosses told Andy that they had received an offer from Liverpool and that they were going to sell him as the club needed money. Later, Carroll confessed in an interview that he couldn't believe his home club would want to get rid of him. He was praying for the transfer to fail, but it didn't. In this case, the player wasn't starstruck, but he was unable to handle the pressure. Andy was mentally broken because of Newcastle's betrayal. He couldn't get used to the life in a new city, the pressure from the press, and the criticism of the fans. Frankly, he deserved to be criticized. In 58 matches, he scored only 11 goals, becoming one of the biggest disappointments of the Reds in the 21st century. When Andy was leaving Anfield, the fans were celebrating. Carroll then played for West Ham and his native Newcastle, and left the club only this summer as a free agent. Today, the 32-year-old forward plays at Reading alongside Halilovic. But there were times when Andy was called a second Michael Owen. His connection to his home club broke the player's career. Whose career has disappointed you the most? And what were the reasons of such a decline? Let us know in the comments. See you soon.